Critical Theory Basics. Welcome back. Video 4. Modernism. Now this is a very interesting movement initiated by a group of avant-garde artists in Vienna in 1950. From the name avant-garde, we understand that these artists want to break up with the traditional forms. After all, who wanted to follow the rules for such a long time? They disliked Victorian morality and optimism and all the rules set by the Victorian period of decorum. And they broke out after the World War because industrialization and the emergence of globalization spurred them on to create this wonderful movement called modernism. Now this began in the field of art and then spread into music, literature and architecture. The features of modernism are based on the simple question how we see a piece of art than what we see in the piece of art. In literature, writers use stream of consciousness technique, open-ended poetry and fragmentary novels. Genres are blurred. Poetic writings are followed in novels, and prose may become poetry. Reflexive or self-empathetic writing formulated by Ezra Pound, the poet of the Cantos, and T.S. Eliot's The Waste Land are some examples of this reflexive writing technique. Influence of traditional myths going back to the Roman and Greek era channeled another movement of modernism, and the writers started moving towards a dystopian society in paintings and art. Movements associated with modernism. Now, modernism is not a single movement. There are different movements that together make up modernism. The most popular one among them is Impressionism. This began in 20th century in France by painters who started mixing colors in a pure way. Some of them even used the primary colors only on rough surfaces to show the texture, and they preferred plein air techniques or painting open landscapes. The term was coined by Louis Leroy, a French art critic, in a magazine that he published in 1874. Leroy preferred outdoor narration and a simple plot for literature. For example, The Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad is a narration that takes place in Africa. This was new at the time, and people started an instant liking towards outdoor narration. If you look at the paintings of Berthe Morisot, you can understand what Impressionism is. Post-Impressionism. An artist reacting to one and one subject only is a major feature of Post-Impressionism. Giving importance to emotions are another feature of Post-Impressionism. Exaggeration in literature, the usage of strong colors, symbols and dark settings in paintings are other features. For example, the symbolic meaning of the appearance of the moon when Jim looks at it from his ship is an example from Conrad's Lord Jim. And if you look at Henri Matisse's Red Room, you can understand the efforts of the painter from the room itself. There are paintings of his own depicted in a corner. His brushes and his paints lay on his desk. The Red Room reminds us of the presence of the writer even though he is not present. Cubism, another movement modeled on geometric shapes and the distortion of human as well as other objects. Instantly we are reminded of the paintings of Picasso. This was the first time when collages were introduced. Today, collages are very popular in Photoshop, and not only in Photoshop. We take instant collages on our smartphones. broken lines and fragmentary forms are examples of Cubism in literature. If you read the poetry of Ezra Pound, especially the cantos, and Hugh Selwyn Moberly, you can understand what Cubism is. T.S. Eliot also followed them in his 4 quartets. Futurism. Futurism glorified technology, science, and the usage of computers beyond human qualities. Futurists believed machines were more useful and productive than humans. So according to a futurist, a car is more beautiful than a Greek statue. Pointillist is another technique of futurism. It is used in painting and it is made up of using the brush to make spots on a piece of unpainted canvas. Utopian sci-fi writings in literature are examples of futurism. Robert Graves' I, Claudius and Isaac Asimov's The Foundation trilogy are some examples. De Stijl was founded in 1917 by Dutch painters Piet Mondrian and Theo van Doesburg. Now, De Stijl simply means the style. This was mostly characterized by horizontal and vertical lines put up in the canvas. Sometimes even the canvas was cut up after the painting was done. New Objectivity is where traditional Renaissance styles were mixed up with pictures from World War I. Imagine a painting during the traditional Renaissance style. For instance, take up Mona Lisa. You can see Mona Lisa stands on a background of a natural environment. Just imagine Mona Lisa standing in the battlefield. Now that is an example of new objectivity. Have you ever read the novels of Ayn Rand? Atlas Shrugged? Yes, that is also an example. Dadaism started as a revolt against new objectivity. Dadaism believes that all life is merely an illusion. Newspapers and magazines were often cut up and placed among paintings. And remember, the term Dada was coined by Hugo Boss. Surrealism. André Breton is called as the Pope of Surrealism. He favored the realm of the unconscious and dreams over the realm of reality. This movement was influenced by Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung. Have you ever read The Hollow Man by T.S. Eliot? Have you seen the paintings of Salvador Dali? The Persistence of Memory is my favorite painting. If you look at this, you can see human-like shapes lying in the corners, clocks melting, and a tree that reminds us of something of our past. That is Surrealism. Abstract Expressionism. Now this is a movement that introduced the impasto or brush strokes that are made visible on the canvas. In literature, the poetry of E. Cummings belongs to this movement because we can see that the lines of poetry are simply cut. They are not like the lines written by Keats. If you see the Balloon Man comet, I know what you're talking about. Minimalism. The usage of minimal material to create minimal art is called minimalism. This was introduced after the World Wars to reduce material and to produce objects that are both beautiful and productive. Shapes arranged in modules and broken up writings were popular. Logic was given more preference over creativity and imagination. Teach these boys and girls nothing but facts. I know what you're thinking right now. Yes, that was said by Dickens in The Hard Times, a statement that most suits minimalism. Pop art. Pop culture, very popular today. In modern day manga, anime, graphic novels, video games, songs, everywhere. And that is even got out into art and literature. Thank you for watching this video on modernism. The next video is on postmodernism. Once again, your suggestions and comments are most welcome. And don't forget to subscribe.